I know it's been a while since I posted a workshop Wednesday, but I've either not been home and in the shop, or I haven't been feeling very good. But here is your long-awaited new workshop Wednesday. So today, the first thing we're going to be doing is mounting some caribou. So first, I got to trim some extra skin off of this thing, just like that. There you can see one side's trimmed, the other's not. These are just some awesome, beautiful animals. So of course the ears did not fit. So here I am grinding down the ear liner so that it will hopefully fit. Here I got it just right. You can see how much smaller it was than that other one. It is a dirty job. So here's the caribou form, and I'm starting off with my favorite part. That is putting on the glue. So I put plenty of glue on here that it is going to stick where I want it to stick, and it's going to easily slide on that form when I put that hide on. So I like to test fit the antlers, and I realized I got to pull this hide forward so that I can get these antlers on here and see if this skin is going to sit where it needs to. Zach gave me a little hand here. It worked. This is just showing you how we had to put them back together. A lot of the times they will cut them in half and you got to reattach them. So this part's going to take a little explaining. Here we have Zach. Zach is supposed to be watching the antler, that it doesn't come past the back of the shoulder mount, so that Kevin can set it proper and the whole thing will hang on the wall with no problems. But Zach apparently wasn't watching very good, and he said, well, I was eyeballing it.
You're eyeballing.
But hey, sometimes we have genius ideas, and we realized if we switch the racks to the different forms, it worked out perfect. It didn't matter which one was a right and which one was a left turn. So sometimes you get lucky. These are the eyes. I think caribou eyes are beautiful. These aren't the best quality eyes, but they're still kind of pretty. So here I'm putting in some clay work. Putting a little extra goo around that ear butt that I roughed in. These guys have really thick fur, so that ear butt didn't have to really be perfectly sculpted in. Here's a pretty rough look at the face. I got to keep that skin wet while I'm working on it. Another look at just how pretty these things are. I want to make a caribou vest. I would love it. So anyways, I tucked the face. Look at that pretty guy. Then it was on to this project. So this leopard needs a dead duiker underneath its paw. So the first step I had to do is try to get this thing to fit to a log. And I had to just cut and test and cut some more. You can see it's starting to kind of fit over it. I'm getting closer. The anatomy, I'm trying to remember, where the spine is going to be, what would be the belly that would get kind of squished over the log. In here, I'm just going to start cutting some of that out because that would be the belly of the animal. So it should smush. I decided to cut off some of these knots that were kind of inhibiting me from sliding this thing on. I'm getting closer. There we go. Now it's sitting about how I want it to for right now. So the next step is to make this standing form look like it is dead. So the way I'm going to go about that is I start to cut wedges out. You take a wedge out of the bottom. I cut the legs off so I can have freedom to move them around. And you can see then that wedge out of the bottom opens up a wedge on top. That's fine. We're going to put some foam in that. I can just bend those wire legs to whatever shape I want. Here it's starting to look a little bit better. I wasn't sure what to do with these hips. I cut there so I could kind of twist them downwards a little bit. And there I took both of the hind quarters off. You can see how now the leg's kind of hanging down like it would if it was dead in a tree. Here I try to screw them together. I step back, I eyeball it, do some twisting, screw in a couple other parts, take it back apart, put it back together. The legs that are hanging downwards are the toughest because I'm trying to think, how would a leg hang down? Of course, our shoulders aren't like their shoulders, so I just try to look until I think something looks natural. This was the most frustrating part of this whole entire project. I'm starting to get pretty happy with it now. I've got that neck on. I've got the legs where I'm pretty comfortable. I think they look pretty good. And just a couple little tweaks here and there, and then it is about to be time for foam. But first, this monster finally came in. Look at how caked up it is with dirt and blood, and this is a mule deer that was taken off of a western island in Mexico. And this is a world record mule deer. It has some fancy name that I don't remember, but isn't this thing just awesome? This would be a dream come true, and it's so cool how dark he is. I'm sorry to keep going on about him and keep showing him, but it's just so awesome. You just gotta enjoy this thing. Those double drop tines. Oh. So we did have to clean a lot of that gunk off. We will restain it, but in order to make the reproductions that are gonna be made of this thing, we needed to be able to get into the detail of that antler. You can see all the veining in there. The same customer has these sheep that are also going to be reproductions. This big gnarly stone sheep and a doll sheep. I don't know what happened to this stone sheep. I don't know a lot about them. I don't know if this was an infection or if from fighting they just knocked bits of their horn off. But this is a reproduction that was already made of the same customer's bighorn, their Rocky Mountain bighorn. Super cool. But then it was time to go back to my dead duiker. Now it was time for foam, so I bag it up so I don't have foam go everywhere. And I'm going to start mixing up the stuff that's going to fill in all those cracks. This is the foam we use. It is a polyurethane 2-part foam. I made my fancy little wire mixing tool, and I pour equal parts of part A and part B. I just mix them both in the same cup. I know it's risky, but it works for me. So then I take my mixing tool and you mix it until you do not see any more of part A or part B in there. A lot of the times it wants to sit on the bottom, but you can see it's mixed well. Take it over, pour it in the cracks. I'm glad I put some plastic over that foot because of course I made a little bit of a mess. As that foam starts to expand, I can kind of move it around and fill it in a couple other spots. You'll see here, I'll kind of wipe it over, smush it in some of them other cracks. And of course, to add a little excitement to the day, this hard noise.
What?
The noise was coming from literally everywhere. Apparently it was the alarm for the septic pump because it stopped working, and that way you know before it backs up into your house or your shop. And then it was back to my dead duiker. So I got all the foam poured, so then I have to cut away all the foam that I don't want. And trying to put that anatomy back into this thing is definitely a little bit of a struggle because those shoulders into that brisket and the neck is just a really strange area when you have to carve it back in. but I'm pretty happy with how it looks for now. There's still some more tweaks, but from where we started to where we are, I'll take it. I also have to do some tweaks on this guy I mounted the previous day. So we mounted a Caribou. Kevin mounted a Caribou. We cleaned up these antlers. Zach worked on some breast mounts. And he also did some habitat on these two beautiful turkeys here. And that's pretty much our day. So I'm glad you guys came along and watched what went on in the shop. So thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas.